Welcome back to another episode of Fill the Screens Podcast. Today we are talking about Final Destination Bloodlines. I have never seen a Final Destination movie in the theater, so this was the very first time that I was able to do that. But it was pretty nostalgic. It kind of took me back to like high school, back when I used to watch all the other older Final Destination movies. And you kind of know what you're getting yourself into whenever you watch these movies. There's no big secret plot twist. There's nothing really complex about them. It's just good, gory fun. And if it's a good Final Destination movie, it's just overall a fun popcorn movie. That's usually what you're in store for. In this movie, it's exactly that. There's a lot of. They even said in the movie it's like a puzzle itself where they like set things up and you're wondering how the person's gonna die. There's a piece of glass in the ice. Like is someone gonna drink it and then choke on the glass? It keeps you guessing. We are gonna get into spoilers, so if you haven't seen it, come back later when you have. Or if you just want to listen, or if you've already seen it, stay tuned, because here we go. I thought the beginning was very good of this film. It starts with Iris, her boyfriend at the time. He's taking her to a sky tower, plans on proposing to her. And we get some nice character moments with this beginning, even though we don't really come back to this character all that much, which is a bit of a shame. I was kind of thinking in my seat, I'm like, what if they just stuck with Iris? And, we got a Final Destination movie set in the 50s or 60s. That would be kind of cool. But with the Final Destination movies, it's always a lot more fun to play with the technology, the current technology we have. Because if you go back then, it's going to probably be a little more difficult to set up these elaborate kills and, how they clue you in. There's a lot more to play with present day. So I'm guessing that's why they didn't really go that route. But with the whole beginning, I really like the actress who played Iris. The tower was cool. As they were going up the tower in that glass elevator, I do not like heights. So like while I was sitting in the theater, man, you start to feel uneasy a little bit. Those scenes were really, really cool and really well done. You could tell a lot of the budget went to this open scene. So during the premonition scene, like we get all these cool things. They got a band playing. They're playing Shout. And it all starts with this little kid who's like a little a-hole. These people are constantly yelling at him to like quit throwing coins off the tower, and he's like, yeah, sure. And he's like calling him fat ass and stuff. Like the kid's not meant to be liked at all. Every time the kid talked, you just kind of groaned. You're like, oh, he's a little brat. As it was going though, the dance floor, which is all glass, literally it starts off with like a little crack. And as the Shout song was going on, people are jumping up and down on it, stomping on it. And the crack just keeps getting bigger and bigger, and it's like spreading throughout the dance floor. And I was kind of like, are you sure no one would have seen that? I get it. Like you're probably drinking a little bit, you're having a good time, you're partying, you're not looking at the floor. But it was a pretty elaborate crack that was developing. I was shocked that no one saw it. But as it goes, like it turns into pure chaos. They fall through the floor. People catch on fire. Again, the opening premonition was very, very cool. And it is very important for these movies for the opening premonition to be good. It has to be good. The last I recall, some of the Final Destination movies that weren't that great, usually the premonition scene like is kind of lackluster. I think it's 4, where it's like a NASCAR, and it's really bad CG. So it's good to start it off with a good note, and this one definitely did that. Also, very great scene of the little brat kid who, during all this chaos, he's running out, and then the piano falls on top of him. That was awesome. But literally all the deaths that happened in the beginning, it was very entertaining. My theater was like yelling during all of it. It was a very fun environment to be in. It was a good time. And then as soon as it's over, Iris, she realizes it's the premonition. She stops all of it. And then it goes to present day, which I'm not 100% sure, but doesn't usually these premonitions, they never really stop the accident. Usually they get a group of people to avoid the accident, then the accident still happens. So I think that was a little different. But later on in the movie, they talk about how all the survivors end up being hunted down and killed one by one. And eventually it comes back to Iris, and then I guess Death is so mad that it's going to travel down her family line, which is what this movie's about. So then we travel to Iris's granddaughter, Stephanie, and that's our main character of this movie. Stephanie comes home from college. She keeps waking up with these nightmares of Iris and seeing everything done in the tower, which is really weird that Death would make her dream about the accident and kind of set off these red flags. You would think Death would just kill them all without him noticing, but whatever. I mean, maybe it was to draw Iris out, which eventually does happen. But I was kind of wondering that, like, why does she have these dreams? And, like, it's not even really a premonition. Like, it's just her, like, dreaming back to Iris's premonition. So I didn't really get that. But we had to find a way to get the granddaughter involved in the movie. So she has these dreams. She goes back to her family. A lot of her family members are mad at her because they constantly tried to get a hold of her. She ignored them because I guess she was too busy with the college life. So they kind of give her the cold shoulder. She eventually decides to go to Uncle Howard's house, which her dad's like, hey, Stephanie, don't tell Uncle Howard about this whole Iris stuff. Like, it really bothers him. It's kind of what made your mom go a little crazy, so just don't bring it up, okay? And she's like, okay, Dad. And then she goes right to Uncle Howard's house and brings it up immediately. Which everyone's like, oh, Stephanie, God. Like, everyone's just aggravated by Stephanie. But eventually, Uncle Howard's wife, I can't remember if she's her actual aunt or not. We'll just go with it. She ends up giving the hints to where Stephanie goes and finds Iris. Now, when she gets to Iris's little shack, or house, you would think that a lady avoiding death for years, and has successfully avoided death for years, like, would maybe make her house like a padded cell where nothing dangerous is around. But instead, her house looks literally like, in Fallout 4, like Raiders. It looks like a Raider camp. There's like spikes sticking out everywhere. It looks completely dangerous. And I'm like, what? That makes no sense how she has everything organized. But she goes and talks to Iris, and Iris is like telling her everything. And I guess Iris goes overboard because then Stephanie's like, this seems a little crazy. And it's kind of like, well, what explanation were you looking for? Like, you traveled all this way to tell her about your dreams. So now she starts going off about death and everything. And Stephanie's like, I don't know. Eventually, Iris wants to give her a book to tell her how to avoid death. And she hands the book to her. And Death keeps trying to get to her. Like, Iris can, like, feel it in the air somehow. And she's like, oh, the bastard's trying to get to me. And Stephanie's just like, what? And Iris is like, you still don't believe me, do you? And it's kind of goofy how it happens. But again, it's popcorn fun. So you got to take it in stride. But she's like, take a step back. And Stephanie's like, why? And she's like, because it's going to kill me. And then like a spike shoots through her head and blood shoots all over Stephanie's face. It kind of made me laugh because I'm like, Jesus Christ, Grandma. Like, maybe yell at her to step back or like take 10 steps back. But no, that's all that happens. No, all this rationale, because Stephanie now has this book, and Stephanie decides to become an expert on death in the amount of like 2 days. Not even that, probably. But this book, I guess, is How to Prevent Death, Living Your Everyday Life, which I was kind of like, that is such an impossible book to write. Like, there's even pages like, when you have a grill, make sure that the gas is under control, and I don't know, it's like all these like different goofy things. It's like, there's so many ways to die. Like, people die. They literally made a TV show, I think, a long time ago. It was like 100 Crazy Ways to Die. This book could not cover all of it. It was a thick book. But just the explanation that, like, Stephanie becomes an expert on, like, how the Grim Reaper is trying to kill people. It's a little silly, and it's a little far-fetched. Like, these movies require a lot of stretch of imagination, but I feel like this little part went a little too far. Eventually, her family doesn't want to believe her at all. Don't blame them. They're like, fuck off, Stephanie. Like, I think that's literally what Eric says. And they're literally just telling her to, like, bug off. But eventually, Uncle Howard dies via lawnmower, which I believe was shown during the trailer. It was still a good scene. It was a good setup, but it was a way to get people back in theaters because it was a very elaborate way to do it. But once everyone buys in, that's when the movie starts to become really fun, and it kind of starts to hit its peak. Out of all the characters, I think Bobby and Eric, they kind of stole the show for me. I like them the most. Bobby's just a very quiet, like, just looking at him, you think he might be like an athlete. So I was kind of expecting like a cocky personality, but really he's just this really quiet guy who seems very nice about everything, and he's very scared about death. And Eric's kind of the opposite. Eric is kind of punk. Maybe looks a little emo. I don't know. Black hair, nose piercings, all that good stuff. But Eric might have been my favorite character throughout the movie. I thought he was hilarious. And Stephanie draws up like the family tree, and she's like trying to say Eric's next, and Eric doesn't believe it at all. He's just kind of mocking the whole idea, so you think Eric's gonna get it. And they do a couple fake outs with him to where you think he's gonna die, but he doesn't. One of them was in his tattoo shop. Another one, he's like talking really cockily. Walks onto the street, you're expecting a car to hit him, it never does. But instead his sister gets killed. And it turns out that Uncle Howard wasn't his real dad, and the mom just kind of reveals it on the spot. It's a pretty funny moment. She reveals who his real dad is, and he's like, "Are you serious? It's him." And she's like, "Yes, I'm so sorry." And he's like, "Is that why he always wants to play catch?" And everyone was cracking up in the theater. It was a funny moment. He's a funny character. The thing I did like about Eric, too, is they humanized him a lot. Like, in the beginning, when I said everyone's giving Stephanie the cold shoulder, Eric's shoulder's probably the coldest. He's literally just telling her F off every opportunity he can. And Bobby just has this little baby turtle that's all he cares for. But whenever Uncle Howard dies, Eric goes to his tattoo shop and he's playing this like metal music. And then he switches it up and plays a sad song and tattoos the word dad on his arm. That was kind of a touching moment. I didn't expect it in a Final Destination movie. So, they kind of humanized him. They make you like him. Plus, he's funny. So, out of all the characters in this movie, he was my favorite. I'll just flat out say that. I liked how they tied in Tony Todd. It was cool seeing him. His final movie that he's going to be in. It said that he passed away. R.I.P. And there was a little line he said to where, like, you need to go out and enjoy life, and not just be concerned about death all the time. And I'm pretty sure I read that the directors of this film, which I think these are first-time directors, they told him, like, hey, just go out there and just say something to the camera, like, whatever you want. And that was what he decided to say. So it was kind of a powerful line and a nice emotional line that he delivered, and it came right from him. So that's another cool aspect of the film. But they use him to kind of drop the aspect of... in order to defeat death, you either have to kill someone else, and then you could live on that person's borrowed time, or you need to die, flatline, and be brought back to life, and then death will no longer pursue you. At this point, Bobby's next on the chopping block, and Eric and Bobby, they're talking about ways to go, and they're like, well, we're not going to kill anyone, right? And then they look over, and there's a baby ward. And they're like, no, we can't do that. Very dark humor, but again, another good joke they inserted. They were pretty witty with this movie. They had their moments. And around this time, though, I did wonder, and I don't think Bobby would have ever done it. But man, all it would have took is Bobby to kill his baby turtle. I believe they said that the turtles live. I don't know the lifespan of a turtle, but I think in the movie they even said like it's a very, very long time. And it's like, man, if the Grim Reaper's coming for you, just smash the turtle. I know that's harsh. That's an awful thing for me to say. But I mean, come on, your life's on the line here. Like, the Grim Reaper's literally trying to set you up every way possible. Just do it. But they never even considered that route. My mind went to it immediately. I don't know if that just tells you how demented I am. But I would want to live. Eric being the good brother that he is, and there is several times in this movie, Bobby has a peanut allergy, and Eric's always like quick to jump on it. He even checks Stephanie's mom's RV to make sure there's no peanut butter in it before they go in. Stephanie's mom brings in cookies that have peanut butter in them. Eric gets very mad about that. But when they realize that they need to flatline Bobby, Eric's very on board with this plan. Bobby's unsure about it, but he's like, man, it's the only way, unless you want to kill someone. Bobby's like, I'm not killing anyone, let's do it. And they do the funny line to where they go to the vending machine, they get some peanuts, and he goes, no, not peanuts, at least get a Reese's cup. So they get that, and so Bobby starts to eat it, starts to have the allergic reaction, and then things go all haywire with the MRI machine, which the magnetic levels of an MRI machine do not go that high, and the creators had to put in like research level energy. That was their way of saying, yeah, we are going a bit overboard with this, so let's just say it's like research mode. But eventually, like, it, kills both of them, and it was the best kill scene of the movie, I will say that. To where Bobby, he's like struggling to breathe. There's that whole dynamic there. Eric, his piercings start to go to the MRI machine. One of them is in his manhood area, which, oh my gosh, that is absolutely awful. But he ends up getting flung into the machine, and then Bobby ends up getting sent through the machine as well. It was a very gnarly no, Eric gets folded in half, that's what it was. And then Bobby gets hit with the vending machine spring. That was my favorite kill throughout the whole movie. That was very well done, and I will say at this point of the movie is probably where the movie peaked. It was the most exciting part. I don't know if it's just because I liked Bobby and Eric so much, but that's where my interest was at the highest point. Now, with saying that doesn't mean the ending was bad. It's just that, that's what I preferred. But the whole aspect of them having Stephanie drowned, and then the brother ends up resuscitating her. And that was the way they kind of ended the movie. Her mom dies. I don't know why they decided to go to Iris's house. Like, again, there's spikes everywhere. It's the most dangerous looking home out of the whole entire world, as far as I know. So I don't know why they're like, yeah, we got to go back there. It's like, clearly Iris was surviving because of her knowledge and her book and the ways to avoid death. Like, there was nothing in her house that was safe, but yet they decided to go there. But they needed a final spot to film the, final confrontation. I did like the end to where her brother's going to prom and she's standing there with him. And then they start talking to his date's dad. And he calls him like the big hero, and she's like, yeah, he saved my life. He brought me back. And he goes, well, just because you drowned and he brought you back, that doesn't mean you were dead. Like, that just means that, you like passed out and he brought you back. And then they kind of realize like they're in trouble. And then a train derails. And one of my favorite callbacks is the log truck. Final Destination 2, like, it's kind of the iconic scene for the franchise, I would say. Anytime I'm on a highway and I see a truck with logs, I think of Final Destination 2, and I think a lot of other people do too. It's just kind of the classic callback. But that's the way how they get killed, because the train doesn't get them, but the log truck gets like thrown at them and the logs get them. It was a nice, fun way to end the movie. So yeah, this movie was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. It's kind of smart in its own way. I said it's kind of dumb fun, but in a way it's kind of smart how they set up the kills. And this movie does it very well. It had characters very likable. And you can tell they spent some money on some scenes, like the beginning. The Sky Tower, again, was very cool. Overall, I think, this movie was made on a $50 million budget, and right now it just kind of passed the $250 revenue. It's looking like it's going to make about $290 to $300 million. So it's making back about 6 times the amount of what it cost to make. And usually the rule of thumb is if you earn more than 2.5 times your budget, you're doing pretty well as far as making money back. So they are making money with this movie, so I would guess another one's going to come soon, though the creator said they didn't want to rush into another one, but money talks. And it's making lots of money, so I wouldn't be surprised if another one came out. I think this one fits right in with the others. It's done very, very well, so yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. Feel free to tell me what you thought about this film. What was your favorite kill? Tell me in the comments. Let me know. I always like hearing different opinions. If you could give this episode a like, it gets it out to other people, and I greatly appreciate it. And I greatly appreciate if you are still here listening. Thank you so much. And until next time.